Hello everyone, this is part 5 of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Was a Genius with Swords, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
The two couple make their way to an apartment that is unknown to the blonde boob. What the question mark? Where's the old house question mark? Tenten sighs deeply, then smiles. I moved out. I was able to become Chunin and get more payments in my missions. Haku and Tayuya moved in as well. My folks retired and returned to running the old weapon shop. But anyway, let's go. She pulls him along, leaving a cheery smile. But unlike most of the smiles she makes, this one is kinda similar to his mask smiles, especially when he seems to be suffering from something. It was obvious to him that she was hiding something. I'll ask her about it later. They entered the apartment, and went to a room labeled 1807. She pulled out a key from her weapon scroll and unlocked the door. The door flew open, to reveal two people who look like girls. One of them was actually a guy, with black hair that was cut so you could tell he was a boy. He was wearing a Jonin outfit, with white blue underneath, and an Anbu dragon mask on. He had a sword on his back with a light blue hilt on with a white star as the guard. He was sitting next to a girl with red hair. She had on a Chunin outfit with a grey jacket instead of green, and a white shirt underneath. She had on also a kusarigama hanging from her left leg wrapped around it, and a flute in her pocket. They turned over towards the incoming couple. Holy hell, it's Naruto, spoke Tayuya. She stared at him, and smiled at him. Naruto lifted his right eyebrow. What, no blatant cursing question mark. Did Haku give you more influence than I thought question mark? He chuckled as Tenten laughed considerably. Haku just smiled, then got up and led them in. It's nice to see you again, Naruto. I was worried you would change and become emo. Pay up, Tayuya. He held his hand out to her. She muttered some crap about fucktards and paid him 200 yen. Naruto sweat dropped. It's nice to know you guys are okay. He is then pulled into another separate room by Tenten, then is locked. What was that about question mark? Haku asked. It seems Tenten was waiting to do this with him for 3 years. I guess teenage hormones finally got to her. She sneered, and sat at a table, pulling out a board with chesses on it. Not chess again, Haku complained. Tenten threw him literally onto the bed. Naruto fixed himself so he could be sitting up. You know you could have just told me. Naruto, it's not that. I wanted to tell you something I can't let the others know about. I'm barrened. Naruto didn't know what that meant, so he decided to ask her, but she held her hand up. I went to see Tsunade for a checkup when I became Jonin, and, well, Naru-kun, do you want to have kids someday question mark? Naruto thought about it. Of course I do. I wouldn't want to have kids with anyone else but you. Even if you got pregnant during that time. She sighed. No, I didn't get pregnant. I can't ever have children. I'm sorry. A dam begins to break as her eyes begin to flood with tears. I'm sorry, that I can't bring you a family. Her head hangs to the ground, and the mattress begins to get wet where she is. Tenten, please stop. I know this is a bad thing to have, but she didn't even let him finish, for she just ran out, busting through the doors and leaving the apartment. Tayuya and Haku walked in to speak to Naruto. Naruto, what happened question mark? Haku asked. Naruto looked up at him. Tenten told me she can't have kids. And she seemed to have left after it happened. Tayuya and Haku changed the expression on their faces and were as sad as Sakura when she heard Sasuke died. There was a knock on the door. The three went to it and saw an Anbu. Naruto, your presence is required to Tsunade-sama. They grabbed him and took off. Tenten ran through the streets, crying and tripping over things as she ran into a forest. I'm sorry, but you would be much better off with someone else. She cried as she sat down on a rock. But she stopped when she noticed someone coming this way. The girl was a Junin in fishnet stockings and a purple shirt on. She also had a pineapple-shaped hair with purple shade and brown hair. Tenten, I saw you running through town. Why are you crying question mark? She spoke softly. Tenten looked up. Anko senpai, I'm sorry. I told him I can't bear children, and You ran away. You know he doesn't care about little things like such, which is why he still stayed with you. Anko spoke. Tenten rose up. Aye, he wants to have kids though. I do too. But not right now though. What will happen to us when he proposes? Anko shook her head. Tenten, I wanted to tell you this, if you're upset with this, then he can have kids through me. Tenten looked up, confused, happiness and fear swept her mind. What? Naruto found his way to her office. Oba-chan, you called me here? Tsunade turned towards him, crying. Oba-chan, what's wrong? You don't enjoy crying in front of me. Naruto, I officially place you under house arrest. Naruto shifted his eyebrow. What? I'm sorry, but the seal can break any minute, and we can't place you in danger of killing your friends. She spoke softly, still crying. Naruto closed his eyes a bit, and looked at her. Naruto, please understand that I won't allow you to die. I won't let another person I love die in front of my eyes. You will be ignored someone to watch you until Jiraiya can prepare something that should help you. Naruto nods, then leaves. Tsunade then looks at another slip of paper. If I sent him on this mission, then there's no doubt he'll release him. Then it'll all be too late, she said as she flipped through the pages of the file, signed by Kazekage Gaara. Tsunade. In the sandy dunes of the village hidden in the sand, the Lord Kazekage was standing in the middle of the desert on the outskirts of the village as the sun was setting and the moon was approaching Fremo, the dark side of the world. He was wearing a red variation of the outfit he used to wear and without the gourd, and was staring down someone. He was wearing a black yukata with red spots all over it. He kinda looks like a girl though, with his blonde hair in his face, but there was something about his headband. It was an Iwa headband, except it had a slash across it. And there was something about his right hand, for it had a blue and green ring on the right index, and had the kanji for the Azure Dragon, Siru. So far the fight was in his favor. Gaara had lured him out of the village, and kept him from blowing other people up. This missing ninja had the power to create clay creations and blow things up with them. He had kept him on the ropes for so long, only to be in a bit of pain. You tired yet? This can go more easily if you would just give up, said the Iwa ninja. Gaara had snuck his sand up behind him, and gripped his arm. Sabaku Kyo. Gaara's signature killing technique crushed his arm, and rendered it useless. But unknown to him, it had stockpiled on clay matter. As Gaara thought he had won and grown onto the verge of winning, the sand blew up, knocking him unconscious. He fell to the ground, as said Iwa ninja smiled. Wasn't expecting it to end so soon. Oh well, time for his demon to come out. Naruto was heading back to his new domicile, trekking through the streets of his traitorous village. But the people didn't seem to try and kill him this time. They took one look at him, and thought he was Yellow Flash. Ever since his maturity outlook changed, people have been staring at him like they saw a ghost. Well, almost everyone. Most of the younger, and older, female CL had hearts in their eyes from one look at him. He just shook it off, and headed home, hoping to see Tenten and have her calm down so he can at least talk to her. But things didn't go very well on his return trip, for a few people dropped by. One of them was a bowl-cut haired teen, with a fetish for the color green it seems, for he wore not only the chunin jacket, but a green sweatsuit underneath. He also had the thickest eyebrows known to man, until he looked at the other guy. It was like a before and after commercial, because the older man was his spitting older image. The last one was completely different. He had on a white long-sleeve shirt, with black hair that dragged to the ground, orange pants with wrinkles that lined all the way to the ends, and white eyes that looked like a zombie. Neji? Guy sensei? Lee? He exclaimed. Lee and Guy struck a pose. Yosh. Naruto, we have heard of your return, and wanted to see your flames of youth. Shouted Guy. Naruto-kun, I am here to test your ability in a fight. Will you show me how your youthfulness has grown? Yelled Lee. Of course. I was on my way home, but it would be bad for me to go with fangirls. Ten-chan would kill me, he complained, pointing to the women behind him. Neji only smirked, eyes closed in that's kinda funny, kinda way, as Lee and Guy jaw dropped. Naruto, you gotta show me how to attract the opposite like that. Pleaded Lee, as he dropped to his knees, almost praising him. Not that I enjoy having attention, I ain't the why brat I used to be back then, but I will have that match now. Lee gets back into his Goken stance. Then show me how well you can fight. Lee ran towards him, thrusting his right fist towards him. Naruto grabbed his wrist with his left arm, and lifted him into the air to slam him onto the ground. Lee spun himself in the air and released himself from the grip, landing on his feet, not hesitating to lung at him for another punch. The fox Chunin only had to duck under the fist, then lift his entire body, throwing him into the trees. Lee did another spin, bouncing off the tree and backy towards Naruto, who only ducked again and lifted his left leg up for a stomping kick. Lee flew into the ground, landing on his back and spitting up blood. Wow, you're a mashing Naruto. I'm not even wearing weights this time. But I bet you're holding back on me, are you? Lee proclaimed. Naruto only smirked, dusting off his feet and rubbing his hands together. You bet I am. He was just about to go for the wristbands he was wearing when an Anbu came by. Mito Guy, your team is to be present at the Hokage's office. Guy nodded, turning to Lee and Neji. All right boys, our most youthful leader has requested us. Let's go see her now. He vanishes, and Lee follows afterwards. Neji stays behind though. Hey, how come you're not going? Asked Naruto. Neji began to walk towards the office. There's something wrong with your chakra coils. I'd advise against using them too much, or something terrible will happen. He then flashes away, leaving Naruto to think about what he said, and to try and lose the girls following him. Hokage's office. Guy and his former team has made it there, entering and being greeted by Kakashi, Sakura, Shino, Hinata, and Kiba with Akamaru. Kakashi hadn't changed much in these years. He still reads that damn book, and wears the same clothes as before. Sakura had grown not as tall as she might have. She still has her hair cut, and wears gloves with a much older version of her outfit. Her headband is in a red color though. Hinata seems to have grown more than him. Her choice of clothes have changed from a sweat jacket and purple spandex pants to violet pants with a blue and purple sweater. Her hair has grown as long as Neji's, as well as her shirt size, and she seems to be more confident, if at all. Shino wears the same damn outfit choice as before, only the color style is green. His shades cover less of his face this time, and he seems to have cut his hair. Kiba was wearing the usual Chunin outfit, only with a red shirt underneath. His pants were red and white, matching the shirt. Akamaru looks like he has been eating for 3 centuries, for he was the size of a wolf. They all did the highs and handshakes, then turned towards the Hokage. Alright, here's the deal, the Kazekage has sent us a distress signal asking to send immediate help. He seems to have made contact with Akatsuki, and we have to make sure they don't get what they want. You will go now. The group nods, then vanishes, heading for the gates of Konoha. After preparing for the journey and summoning a turtle, the group made their way to save Gaara. Back in Konoha, Naruto was heading home, after losing a trail of women after his hide. He enters the apartment, heading inside the apartment, only to remember he doesn't have a key yet. He knocks on the door, hoping to get Haku or Tenten or Tayuya's attention. I wish they would have given me a key before I left. He was gonna knock again, when the door flew open, as he fell to the floor missing the door. He looked up to see Tenten staring at him. Oh hey Tenten. I was hoping to talk to you. She glomps onto him, smothering her head inside his shoulder. Something wrong? He asked worriedly. He knew that she would only glomp him when she's either really glad to see him, or trying to cheer him up for an embarrassing thing he might have to do for her. Tenten raised her head. I'm sorry I ran away. I was acting childish. But I want you to know, that I won't run away again. I found someone who is willing to have our kids. Her name is Mitarashi Anko. Naruto thinks back in his head, trying to remember someone by that name. He can't though. I don't think I know an Anko. Couldn't you have gotten someone I know, like Ino, or Hinata, or Sakura, or even Tayuya? No. I knew Tayuya wouldn't want to love anyone but Haku, even if they were to have a foursome with us. Ino, well, she's with Neji now, and I would rather kill myself than let that slut even touch you. She spoke that last voice in such venom that her lips were being bitten down on. At the door Tayuya and Haku came in, with groceries. Naru, you guys came back. We just came from the store. Haku spoke as he placed the food onto a table in the kitchen. The black-haired girly shinobi took out a round and red fruit from the bags, crunching and savoring the juiciness of it. And now we are about to make a salad. His red-haired girlfriend pulled forth a pineapple, then cuts it up with her weapon. Soon they begin to dump fruit all over the table, and dicing anything there that can be grown from the ground and is sweet or crunchy. In about 10 minutes a big bowl was filled from head to toe with chopped fruit. It was large enough to fill even Naruto's appetite. After smaller bowls were handed out, they wasted no time to chow down on the delectable produce. So Haku, when are you gonna propose to Tayuya-san? Haku spat up all his food into the face of the asker, Naruto in this case, completely taken off guard by that question. The receiving fox only growled in response. Haku's puking face shifted into a blushing one at that. I do not plan to discuss that in front of her. Tayuya made a devilish grin, as she scooted on over to the girl-faced ice user. Or Haku-chan, I would have thought you'd be too proud to let a surprise get in your way. She cuddles into him, eating the luscious fruit in front of her. He is so whipped, laughed Naruto, falling onto the floor holding his sides. Tenten joined him on the ground, cracking up. Haku just got mad, but it didn't show on his face. Tayuya held him back so he wouldn't do something stupid. Look who's talking. Tenten been had your whipped for about as long as Haku's told me, replied Tayuya, smiling deviously. Those words brought not only silence but a killer intent in the room. Naruto rose up, eyes fixated on killing the flute player. After about 30 minutes of that, followed by another 30 minutes of strip poker and comparing sizes, they decided to hit the sack, Naruto sleeping in Tenten's room of course. Meanwhile in the forest of Konoha, well one of them anyway, a white-haired pervert was finishing the final touches on the plan he has been putting into play ever since. Phew. Finally. Let's hope this works. If not, he doesn't even think about what might happen if this fails. Naruto, you gotta be strong. You have to consume the QB before it eats you up. Arashi, it's time I tell him, thought the perverted geezer, as he strutted on back to the Hokage's office. Back at said office Tsunade was drinking a bottle of sake, which was actually vinegar but she didn't notice until she drank it. Yuck. I hate this crap. That's when a knock was heard on the door. Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya is here, said Shizune. Tsunade pressed a pink buzzer, signaling them to come in. Entering in came Jiraiya and Shizune. Is that it, Shizune? She asked confused, since she always leaves after letting in someone. No, Tsunade-sama. I just have something to say, after he's done. Okay, how are things? She asked the toad hermit, turning over to him. He frowned, sighing as he sits in a chair. Preparations are now complete. We just need some strong shinobi who can hold him out until the battle within ends. Spoke Jiraiya. We should start now, I don't think the seal will hold for long. Fine. I already have a few shinobi in mind. If his friends and fiancé plan to save him, they will do this. Now what was it you wanted to say, Shizune? She turned over to her assistant. Shizune felt a bit discouraged to speak, but found some sort of courage and rose up. I have a confession to make. Before I left Konoha with you, Tsunade-sama, I was married. This raised a few eyebrows off the faces of Jiraiya and Tsunade. Oh, you were? Well, what does it have to do with this? She wondered. Shizune sighed deeply. I never told you because I didn't want to bring up any horrible memories I have, and because I didn't know you knew who he was. I loved that man, and ever since he died during that day. She seems to be sobbing during this point, even on her knees. I thought our son died alongside him. I was foolish back then to allow him to take our son into battle. After I learned of his death, I fled Konoha with you. It wasn't until after I met with you and when we returned here that I learned our son was alive. He even looked like him. Shizune, calm down, yelled the Gondime, shaking her assistant quite violently. That's when something crossed her mind. Wait, tell me the name of your son. She spoke in a rather commanding than an asking voice. Shizune looked up to her. My name used to be Uzumaki Shizune. Naruto woke up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, trying to bore himself to sleep. Why do I feel so evil lately? Is that demon starting to affect my social abilities? I'm getting closer to you. Naruto gets spooked, then looks around for the source of the voice. That's when his worst fears were realized, seeing the demon face of the fox in front of him. I'm drawing closer to you every day. Your seal will soon go away, leaving nothing to stop me. Then I will devour you, and take full control of this world. Then you will disappear from this world, and the next. CR. And with a maniacal laugh, he disappears, leaving Naruto afraid, for both him and his friends. Oh no, it can't be. What do I do now? Father. With very much effort Naruto was able to force himself into sleep, only having to wake up 2 hours later due to dawn light. Tenten shift herself in her sleep, snuggling closer to her fiancé. No Naruto. Anko would hate to wait up. She mumbled in her sleep. Naruto nudged her a bit, waking her up slowly. She stared into the red eyes of her esteemed lover, kissing his nose it seems. Ohio. Nice to see you. Nice to see you guys too. So wake up. It's time, said a voice on the window sill. After turning towards it they learned that it was Jiraiya of course. Tenten snuck back into her covers, blushing madly. Naruto only got up, throwing a kunai at him. You perv. Are you really so lonely that you have to watch your own apprentice sleep with his fiancée? Not really. Now get dressed. We gotta go, and bring your friends, he said, dodging the knife. After an hour of getting ready and waking up Haku and Tayuya and waiting for them to get ready, the youthful shinobi followed the old pervert towards Training Ground 7, Naruto's old team's place. Waiting there were Tsunade and Shizune. Naruto, it's time. But first, you can remove those spirit aura cups I gave you, Jiraiya said. Naruto blinked in confusion, then remembered what he meant. Oh, those. I completely forgot about those. He then holds out his 2 arms, and spreads his legs. After releasing some energy into his system, yellow energy rings appeared around his arm. The other arm had another, and it seems that they were connected by a golden energy line. His feet had the same situation. Tenten stared at them. What are those? Naruto turned his head over to her. Spirit aura cuffs. These are things Jiraiya gave me before we even began our travel outside of Konoha. These things are made to suppress the chakra inside of someone, and restrain them. But now I think I should take him off now. I'll explain it to you after this trial. He holds his hands up in the air. Energy Senkai. He yelled the last part, as the yellow chains disperse. All of a sudden a huge surge in energy was blowing away everyone, as Naruto was now standing on top of a crater. His eyes were turning completely blue, as chakra surrounded him, blowing away the trees around him. After 2 minutes it stopped, leaving everyone in awe. My, it seems they held in a tremendous amount of energy. I guess that's what happened when you spend 3 years training with me, proclaimed Jiraiya, laughing out loud. Tsunade was far from impressed, she was amazed out of her gambling pig-loving mind. Shizune was choked up, seeing her own son usurp her husband in terms of strength. Naruto, even when I feel you can't amaze me anymore, you pull an mashing feat out of your in less than a second. I'm proud of you, grandson, spoke the Gondime. Tayuya and Haku were too jaw-dropped to say anything, and not just because of Naruto's magnificent strength that he has held back, but also when Tsunade said he was her grandson. You're related to him? Jested Tayuya. Tenten, Naruto, Jiraiya, Shizune, and Tsunade herself smiled and nodded. Of course. Where do you think his stupidity and temper comes from? Said Shizune. Naruto then made a serious face. Alright, when do we start? Now, quickly replied Jiraiya, who held out his hand towards him. You need to find a way to absorb the QB into you, and keep him there. Oh, and Shizune's your mother. He spoke the last part fast, but the blonde boob wasn't that dumb to figure it out. She's wah. He couldn't finish, for Jiraiya's hand released some sort of blue light that flashed in front of Naruto's face. His eyes went cold, and he fell to the floor, but his sensei grabbed him before he could touch the floor, closing his eyes with his hand. It's time, he said. Jiraiya gave the boy over to Tsunade, as she went towards another spot. Jiraiya then did a couple of hand seals. In about a minute, a yellow barrier appeared around the area, surrounding the middle of the training grounds by 100 radius. This will keep people from coming here, seeing in here, or sensing chakra in here. Let's go. Wait. Tenten grabbed his shoulder. What did you tell him before knocking him out? And why did you call us here? I mean, yeah, we would have come here anyway, But why did you let us without a fight? Naruto's about to go berserk. As soon as he wakes up he won't be himself, but transforming into the fox. You need to keep him occupied so he doesn't try to break through the barrier and hurt anyone else. I chose you three because I know you would be willing to do it without question. Now let's go, Jiraiya said, walking over to where Tsunade, Naruto, and Shizune are. There they found Naruto face down on the floor, Kazekage on the ground with him. Jiraiya walked in front of him, doing a couple of hand signs. Tenten was walking over to Tsunade and Shizune. I hope he makes it out. I really want to be with him. She whispers to herself. The Gondime only smiled at her, gripping her in. Don't worry. My grandson won't let that thing take him out without a fight. His father would be proud to see him now. Tsunade then turns over to Shizune. His mother too. Tsunade-sama, I know I didn't tell him, but I know I should tell Tenten, since she will become my daughter-in-law. Shizune announces to her. Tenten turns over to her. You're his mother? Why didn't you tell him? I didn't know he was alive. Neither did I know his name before he disappeared from my eyes. I thought he died outside Arashi when he took him into battle against that evil demon. After I learned Arashi was dead Naruto was too, so I fled Konoha with Tsunade and you know the rest. She cried out in tears. After listening carefully to what she had to say, Tenten decided not to push her anymore. That's when Jiraiya stopped. Sealing Jutsu, Gochu Tekken. He slammed the ground with his two hands, as 5 metal pillars fell from the sky and crashed into Naruto's unconscious body. They fell on top of his wrists, ankles, and the part of his spine that was right above his chest but below his neck. Now it begins. Inside the mind of the blonde-haired Chunin, Naruto was in a different environment. He was on top of some stone pillars, above a meadow field with green luscious plains and a large lake that had a river leading elsewhere. In his hand was Kazekage, as he was looking at what looks like a mirror image of himself. This person was on the other hand completely white, opposed to his completely black clothing. Even his skin was bleach. His clothes were a white version of his, and the inside color was black though. He has yellow pupils surrounded by a pool of red and blackness as eyes, and razor-sharp fangs for teeth. He stared down at Naruto. Hey, long time no see, human. Naruto looks to his left, then his right, and sees the change in scenery, and no sign of the beast that has caused him pain. Where's QB? The white him gave no answer. Naruto then grabbed his sword with both hands. Tell me now or else I'll crush you with Kazekage. The Getsuga you're referring to. Do you mean the Kazekage in your hands? Or. He pulls a white version of Naruto's sword from behind. The Kazekage in mine. Naruto was starstruck. A white Getsuga? Who the hell are you? The figure only smirked an evil smile. You asked earlier where the 9-tailed fox demon was savvy? The truth is, he flashes out of sight, and appears in front of Naruto, sword held up for a strike. I am the Kyubi. He yelled, slashing his sword down at Naruto, who blocked with his. Back outside. Car thump. A shockwave of wind blew, blowing back the surrounding ninjas that were watching over Naruto. After rising back up, they realized it was a chakra spike in power. Tsunade stared down at the pinned-down body of her grandson. Naruto, Tenten, Haku and Tayuya got back up as well, shivering in their boots a bit. I should have known. Those things won't hold him, claimed Jiraiya, still with a look of worry in his eyes. Shizune backed up a bit behind the Hokage, staring at her immobilized son. But those things look like they weigh more than he does. That's when his fingers started moving. Naruto's fingers were collecting dirt as they tried to move. The 5 pillars started to shake, growing cracks as he moved. His legs started moving as well, followed by a shrieking moan coming from his mouth that was face down in dirt. The pillars then crashed into each other as Naruto rose his head up. His face was completely devoid of the man they all came to love. His eyes were now black water covering a small island of red with a yellow center. The boy's whiskers were now deep and black now, with a hint of red in them. The hair of the boy was completely white now, long gone from being the golden yellow they once were. He was smiling, but his teeth, or better yet fangs, were showing, as he rose up from the crumbling towers of steel that pinned him down. Tenten began to back away, completely afraid of her fiancé now. But somewhere between her falling on her butt when she backed off, and thinking about what will happen if he were to escape this zone, she slapped on some resolve and pulled out a huge scroll. Jiraiya placed a hand onto her shoulders. There's not much time for him to find a way to regain his body and soul. If he cannot, then we have to kill him, if we can. He seems to be crying a bit, and who could blame him? Tentens were about to go teary too, but she decided it wasn't the time for tears. No more will she cry for the sake of others or herself. She then walked over to Naruto, who was hunched down picking up Kazekage sugar. Naruto, I love you. I know that deep within my heart that you can survive and defeat this demon. It may seem stupid for us to fight, in any other situation we would be laughing and enjoying each other's company instead of seriously trying to hurt one another. But I have to fight you, and make sure you come back to me. He then unraveled her scroll, drawing a wakizashi and holding a Shinto stance. Bellowed the insane demon-possessed boy, and he got down on three, with his sword in his right hand, and red chakra surrounds his body, taking the form of a tail and ears. Naruto lunged at incredible speed towards her, shrieking as he brought down his sword on her. Inside Naruto's mind, Naruto and Kyuubi were battling it out, hacking and slashing each other like there was no freaking tomorrow. Kyuubi seemed to be doing most of the attacking though. Why the hell do you look like me? Fool. With me still a part of your body, I was forced into this form. And with those words still fresh in the air, he punched Naruto to the ground, creating a crater. As he rose up, he stared angrily at the white version of him, who descended to the ground. Regardless of how I look, the fact of the matter is I am the demon fox. I just look different. Ever since I learned the seal was weak enough for me to escape through, I tried to mess with your mind each and every day. I did it so much it became weak enough for me to break free from, which leads to today. Since you were asleep for me to reach you, the seal finally broke, but for some reason I was transformed into this after I came through the gate that held me in, explained the white Naruto. The real Naruto got to his feet. So I see, my father must have foreseen this and placed a hidden seal on top of that to keep you in check until I beat you down. This explains why you look like me, and why the scenery has changed. Meaning if I can beat you, you will become a lesser part of me and have no choice but to obey me. Naruto exclaimed confidently. He seems to have his resolve returned to him. But Kyuubi only laughed at his foolishness. You making fun of me? As true as that is, you won't get the chance to subdue me. Your power was only so strong because I allowed you to use a small amount of my chakra. And now that I'm free, you won't be able to use it anymore. And there is no way in this world or the next will the great Kyuubi no Kitsune, Lord of the Tailed Demons, be outfoxed by some stupid human who wouldn't even be alive if it weren't for his pathetic, useless, tasteless, little tramp. He made a huge snarling accent on the last word. This sent Naruto overboard with rage, as he stomped onto the ground, summoning as much chakra as he can command at once, doing his favorite hand signs. Look at my army and say that again. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He created a massive amount of shadow clones this time. If you actually took the time to count them, you would reach up to 1,000 black ninjas brandishing a blade. Try this on for size. Each of them charged at Kyuubi, who only cricked his neck and ascended into the air. As the ninjas caught up to him, they slashed down on him. Kyuubi only did a few quick steps to dodge the blade, and another flick of his wrist to crush the clones next to him. More came running after him, but each were decapitated or slashed in half. This continued until only 200 were left. Is this the best you got? Not much of a challenge to me. The Narutos got a bit pissed, then held their swords behind their necks. Haijutsu, Get Sugar Tenshu. The Narutos unleashed their second trademark move, as waves of black and red darkness flew towards him. Kyuubi smirked, then chuckled a bit. He started inhaling, then with a very loud scream he blew away the Get Sugar Tenshus, turning them into nothing but air. Impossible. The Kyuubi flashed in front of the Naruto who said that, swinging his sword down on him. Naruto blocked it with his blade, as the other Narutos ran towards them. The white Naruto then placed a hand onto his blade. You remember that it was me who used that move first, right? And ever since then when you used it you bastardized it every time, making it look weak. Well, here's a taste of what could have been. Get sugar Tenshu. Not much could be told, except there was a huge explosion that covered most of the entire area. All the surrounding Narutos puffed away instantly, and after the smoke cleared, the only ones standing were a perfectly fine Kyuubi, and a black and red Naruto. His face was grotesquely bloody and battered, scars across his 6 whiskers, and his eyes have changed from red back to blue. He still had Kuroi Get Sugar in his hand, but little good that'll do him. Now you see the difference in our power? A human like you could never hope to kill me, and because you kept pissing me off while I was trapped, I think I should take care of the girl who slowed down the process of my freedom, that tramp you call Tenten. Kyuubi made an echoing laugh. Naruto then grew even more enraged, and stabbed his left chest with his blade. It didn't pierce through though. What is this shit? He complained. Kyuubi only shook his head, then grabbed his sword. The blade then started turning into white liquid, dissolving into the air until there was nothing left. Naruto could only stare in horror as his only means of victory slipped away from him. It disappeared? He felt himself lost in thought as he watched his blade slip away. Flashback no jutsu. Naruto was training to learn how to use his black sword. He finds himself straining too much trying to wield it, but drops his blade after 7 hours of trying. Damn, that Zabuza guy had this sword tamed. Why can't I use it? Hey, human? Naruto looks around, seeing that no one was around to tell him, but just continues to use it. Naruto then heard the same voice, but it tells him to invoke chakra into it. He tries what the noise says, and the sword suddenly grows in power. He can hardly hold it up without energy shockwaves from it cutting up his arms. Then there was an explosion, and he fell to the ground, ping out. But a few minutes later he woke up, lifting the sword to his red eyes, which they hadn't been since his fight with Haku. The Naruto then invokes red chakra into the blade, then slashes at the trees, as the trees turn to dust of red and darkness. Let's try it again. He slashes in the sky, as a wave of red and black dark flames attack the sky. Naruto then begins to laugh, as it explodes in the air. Naruto then feels himself tired, and falls asleep, only to wake up hours later with blue eyes. What happened? He asked himself, as he shrugged and began to train with his blade some more, only to find that he can control it even better this time. He even figured out how to do a move, and named it, unknown to himself that a certain red animal was smiling to himself. End flashback. Wait, that time, you invoked your red chakra into, he was cut off by a hand grabbing his face. Stop spacing out, he said as he threw him into a pillar, breaking it into pieces as he went through it. Naruto could barely raise himself up anymore, as rocks crumbled around him. Kyuubi walked closer to him, and stopped about 12 feet away. Who would want you for Hokage? You're loud and obnoxious, you're not well liked, you can't fight without relying on your tenant, and you can't even put a scratch on me. Your father did more than just that, you fool, he made me bleed. You are nothing compared to him. He bellowed, swinging the sword by the chain. Seeing you live makes me sick. Naruto, do you have a clue as to what's the difference between a king and a horse? Naruto stared at him in disbelief. And I don't mean that kiddie shit like one's a person and the other's a horse, or some simple shit you might say to piss me off. If both of them are equal beings, then why is one stronger than the other? Naruto was actually listening now. Kyuubi then stopped spinning the blade. I'll tell you, instincts. Kyuubi gains a rather malicious grin on his face. In order for identical beings to gain the power needed to become king, they must seek out more fights. They have to lust for battle, want to grind people to pieces, desire the pleasure of killing. Naruto, deep within all kings lie the natural desire to crush, to maim, to slash their enemies to pieces. Naruto opened his eyes wider at this, as the demon started to spin his blade again. But you don't have it. You don't have those pure basic instincts flowing through your soul and veins. You fight with your brain, and try to kill your opponents with logic, and it fails each time. You're like a fool who is hunting a rabbit with a cannon. Kyuubi then stopped spinning, staring down the human soul before him. That's why you'll never be stronger than me, that's why you'll die here and never become Hokage, Naruto. He finishes by throwing the Shoroige Sugar into Naruto's heart. Blood gushed from the wound, as Naruto was powerless to stop it or even remove it. He then thinks about what he said. Purpose. What is my purpose to fight? One fight to protect people I care for, but is there more? His eyes seem to have some life in them now, and are noticed by QB, who is currently approaching him, are glowing. And I ain't gonna have it. I don't know about the villages or your stupid friends, but I'll be damned if I become the weapon of somebody who's weaker than I am. I never thought of you as someone who could become a strong person, just a platform on my way to freedom. And with all that's said and done, I'll just kill you here. He grabs the hilt of the blade. And take your crown for myself. He then proceeds to remove the sword. But Naruto had other plans, for he grabbed the blade of the Nodaki, as it started to turn black. The Kyuubi saw the darkness consume the blade and let go of it and backed off before it could take him in as well. His right hand got some of it though, as it turned into a furry red fox claw. Naruto then grabbed firm hold of the sword, and removed it from his heart. As blood spilled out from his wound, it stopped as quickly as it started, as Naruto then raised his head, the blue glow in his eyes returning to him. Instincts her ? He holds the sword up to him, and then it turns into pieces. The black shards formed into his hand in the shape of a ball. Chakra then started to swirl around it, forming into a black and red Rasengan. Naruto then disappeared in a flash, appearing in front of Kyuubi who was caught off guard, and slammed the spiraling sphere into the heart of the wicked beast. The ball then started to release the wind inside, making a bloody hole inside the fox demon. The rest of the sphere then turned into Koroiget sugar, sticking inside of Kyuubi's chest. The blood that was spilt from his wound started to consume Kyuubi. His clothes then started to become black, as they faded away into nothingness. I see. So you really are strong. It seems you have discovered your true powers, and have finally defeated me. I guess there's no way around it. I have to disperse into the center of your heart and soul. Kyuubi announced in defeat. Naruto then smirked, as he slowly pulled his sword out. Goodbye Kyuubi. I'll see you when the Shinigami comes for me. Kyuubi then grabbed his sword, with his still underformed right hand. But remember this, I won't stay gone. I will be back, and next time things won't end so well. Any one of the two of us can become the king, or the tool. So beware, if you ever give me the chance, I'll drag you off of your throne and crush your heart with all my might. His arm then disappears, along with the top part of his head. But before he could disappear completely, he left one more piece of information. One more thing, there is one more reason I attacked Konoha, someone else was there for me to kill. Someone whose chakra is even more evil than my own. When I disappear, and you receive my memories, ask your teacher about a man who goes by the name of Uchiha Madara. And with that, he disappears, leaving Naruto alone in his mind finally. The landscape starts to change a bit, and his vision goes black. Minutes before the demon was finally vanquished. Haku and Tayuya were both very damaged and bruised, having to try not to kill their best friend, but at the same time, make sure not to hold back even the slightest bit, to avoid fear of death. Naruto by the way was launched on 2 legs, holding his sword in one hand. But his appearance had changed a bit. He now has long white hair that drags to the ground, and 8 chakra pure tails swinging healthily. He also seemed to be smiling, as blood spilled out from his pores. It was obvious that it was too late. Is it too late? Has he lost? Asked a worried Haku. Tayuya only seemed to shake her head yes. It seems. But I don't think we can kill him. He's way too strong for either of us. Even Tsunade will have problems. The crazed Naruto then held up his hand, to form a black and red Rasengan, when something goes wrong. He holds his head in pain, as though something had happened to him. He looks at the sky, and screams in a blood-curdling shriek, one that could peel flesh from the bones of babies. Jiraiya then came in. It worked. Everyone get back. He yells, grabbing both shinobi and running for a safe distance. Naruto let out one last scream, before the walls of the barrier started crumbling to the ground, and the red chakra started to absorb inside his body. His eyes have changed from blood demon, to his normal blue angel eyes, as his hair stayed white though, fainting and falling to the floor. After 2 hours of resting, Naruto opens his eyes finally, staring at the bright sky of daylight. He then notices someone is holding him, and turns his head, to see Tenten staring at him, eyes teary and smiling. Tenten, I won. Naruto, you survived. Oh, I'm so glad, she squealed, pulling his head into a sweet kiss. After removing her head, she stared into his eyes, seeing that they have returned to being blue. Your angel eyes have returned to you. You're the only real angel here, he whispered to her, giving her a smile to defeat all smiles. Tsunade then ran down to hug him. Naruto, it's good to see you're okay. I thought I would have to crush that face of yours, she gestured, as Naruto just laughed. Haku and Tayuya came over to him, welcoming him back and such. Even Jiraiya was happy, but Shizune wasn't entirely smiling. Sure, she was glad her son survived, but there was that fact that kept her away from him. She then began to walk away. Shizune, why do you flee? He asked, making her stop in her tracks. She couldn't turn her face towards him, for fear of never gaining his trust ever again. Naruto, Shizune, don't. You don't have to explain it to me. You thought I died alongside Dad and left with Bar-chan? He asked, getting up from his spot and walking over to her. He stopped right at 2 feet away. Naruto, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I never told you about me being your mother. She begins to sniffle and get tears at this part. I know you may never rid yourself of the pain of your childhood, but if you may, would you please allow me to? Her words were stopped by a pair of arms draping around her stomach, and a head plopping on her back. Shizune, no, Car-san, you will always be my mother, no matter what stands in our way. She begins to cry again, but they're not tears of sadness or grief, but happiness. Naruto could feel himself cry as well, finally finding the mother he so strongly wanted to meet for years. The pain will never go away, but something will always be there to fill it up, a family. Jiraiya approaches Naruto and his hugfest with his family, interrupting it seems. Not that I like a good family, but do you mind if we continue? Naruto turns towards the pervy sage, and blushes, relishing he almost forgot. He slowly releases his mother and stands straight up, staring into the eyes of his toad summoning sensei. Sorry, so what do I do now? Am I off probation? Tsunade placed a hand on his shoulders, then walked up to Jiraiya. No, Naruto. We have to wait until your body completely stabilizes and absorbs the fox as well as his chakra. And if Arashi's seal is as good as it was, you should be fine to fight again in 24 hours. Jiraiya explained. 24? That's a long time. And I haven't seen anyone else since I got back. Where are they? Tsunade sighs, knowing that she can't tell him that they went to rescue Gaara. Naruto, they won't return until the end of their mission. What the mission is and the specifics inside are classified for my knowledge only. Naruto groans a bit. It was his first time back in 3 years and no one else he knows is around, except Haku, Tenten, and Tayuya. But whining about wouldn't help him a bit, maybe it would pee the time but only by so much, so he just sighs. So, what can I do now? He asked, wondering if he can at least have the day off. Jiraiya must have read his mind, for he just plainly spoke out, you can have the day off. And for the next few minutes Naruto was seen bouncing around, and grabbing his friends to enjoy the rest of the day. Shizune laughed at the jolly goodness of her son, as she went towards her sensei. So, Tsunade-sama, do you think we should let him live with us? She asked, wondering if it was a good idea. She only laughed. Nope, I don't think he'll want that. The brat would probably keep us up with Tenten and him yelling with each other. She laughs again, heading back to her office, and gaining a feel of dread for the paperwork she might have left. Shizune followed behind, thinking only one thing. If Naruto is just like his father, then he'll probably marry her this soon. Does this mean I'm gonna become a grandmother before I turn 37? She cried in her head. Jiraiya just pulled out a book, and headed for the hot springs as usual. Well, since I don't have anything to do, I'll go do some research, and get those elemental papers for him to use. Back with Naruto, he and his friends were on their way through town, as he sucked in the sights and new sounds of the town that betrayed him once. There were people walking through the streets, buying things and loitering, and children playing ninja with fake kunai and shuriken. It would be something to enjoy, if the group wasn't being followed by the worst threat to both Naruto and Tenten imaginable, lusty teenagers that seeked out Naruto. He turns around to see the people who were staring at him, and could feel his face turn dark. With his hair cut by Tenten as he was asleep, his face was fully exposed for women to look and stare at. This is so troublesome. Let's get out of here, he told his friends, as they seemed to oblige, by grabbing him and teleporting to the apartment. At the front door, the four made it there, as Naruto brushed off the dirt from his clothes, and Haku fixed his hair again. So Naruto, tell me, what was the training like with Jiraiya? Was it harsh to travel with and have your only companion and trainer a perverted toad hermit? Naruto scowled his face and shuddered as he turned towards Haku. Well, let's just say that it all sucked. I had to do a lot of shit for him. He was always trying to dump me at some place and drink beer with some broads. And when he didn't do that, he made me go through some damn pain not even Orochimaru can dish out. Flashback no jutsu. Naruto and Jiraiya were just leaving the village hidden in the leaves, heading towards their newest destination. Naruto had a look of determination on his face, one that could make his others look like practice. Ero Sennin, I need to get stronger. If I want to protect Tenten, and keep my promise, you can't ever hold back on training me. I don't care how painful it is, no matter how much I complain, I will see it through. The toad hermit looked down at him, and a devious smile appeared. You don't have to worry about that. In fact, I was just gonna wait until we were out of the place to begin your first training step. Put your hands out and stretch your legs. As Naruto did what he said, Jiraiya did some hand signs, and a golden light appeared on his index right hand finger. As he wrapped it around Naruto's hands and legs, it snapped tight on him. Hey, what are you doing? I don't know about you, but I ain't into this kinky stuff, and you're a dude. In your dreams, these are Spirit Arua cuffs. Think of them as weights you put on for your chakra, he replied. Naruto then tried to move them with his arms and legs, but to no avail. It doesn't matter how much you try to move it with your muscles. Your physical strength has limits, but your chakra doesn't have such. Oh come on. I don't have time for this chakra shit, he complained. Shut up. Try and focus as much chakra as you can around your whole body, and then try to move. Jiraiya spoke, standing back a little bit. Naruto then did what he said, and summoned some chakra to surround his body. It disappeared afterwards, as he tried to move this time. But it actually worked now, for he could separate his legs and arms now. I ped the test with flying colors, now get this crap off of me. He yelled. Jiraiya only clapped his hands, amazed that his pupil could have figured it out so easily. Very good. And you will keep that crap on at all times, until I say so. Naruto could feel sweat coming down his face, most from his reaction, and the rest because of the strain he has. But it takes all my concentration and power to move these things. That's the point. These things will make you more powerful the longer you wear them. Now, I will give you a word to dispel them, but if I find that you took them off without my consent, I'll throw you into the girls' bathhouse, naked I might add. He said in an evil tone. Naruto only muttered something about evil perverted men. A week later they were in Getsugakur, spending time and training there. Naruto was still under the influence of the spirit cuffs, and walking for him was even harder than that exercise in walking on water. And it didn't help the fact that he had to collect food and build a tent before they reached here. He couldn't even use his jutsus because of the strain, which could mean the end for him if an Akatsuki member tried to capture him. Right now they were in the outskirts of town, near a lake, as Jiraiya was giving him a new way to increase his chakra stamina hold. Now, you take a single kunai, and stab the dull end into the ground. He said, placing said kunai into ground. He then places his right index finger onto the point of the knife, as chakra could be seen flowing from it, and lifts himself up on it. Next you invoke your chakra into the point of your fingertip, and keep yourself balanced on the thing. Naruto was watching the whole thing, and he was freaking out. It was hard enough for him to move in these cuffs, and now he has to do this. 2 hours later, the two were still at the lake. Jiraiya hasn't moved from his spot, and Naruto barely was keeping balance. He was on top of the knife with his finger, but he was sweating pure bullets, and using a lot more chakra than he seems to need. But it didn't seem enough, for blood could be seen sliding down the knife onto the floor. Good, it seems you got the hang of it. Jiraiya spoke, then smiled evilly. Now we will keep this up for 9 hours. Naruto could feel himself tensing up, and who could blame him? He was being completely restricted of 80% of his energy, and trying to balance himself on a kunai with what's left. I hate you. 2 weeks later, Naruto and Jiraiya were still in the village hidden under the moon, and things were hell for Naruto. Besides jogging, doing push-ups, and fetching food for himself and the old man, he hardly had enough time to get the chakra spike training completely in the bag. Now he was with Jiraiya at the same lake, standing on water with his hands up as if they were holding something back, and did I mention that it was killing him to keep himself up like this while wearing those things? Jiraiya was in front of him, hands held in a sign. Okay, for an added segment to your training, you will have to learn how to block ninjutsu-based attacks. Moves like the Gokyu and other elemental-based jutsus that can fire long range can do serious damage to you. Yondaime and I came up with a secret jutsu that can block any of those attacks. And it doesn't even require hand signs. You just have to do 2 signs, boar and dragon, and hold your hands out like you are doing now, and invoke a certain amount of chakra into your hands. If it works, you will be saved. If it doesn't, you will die. Naruto kinda gasps at the last words, as Jiraiya does some hand signs, and invokes a jutsu. Suten, Suryu Enden. The water dragon technique attacked Naruto, as he did those 2 hand signs he was told of before, and holds his hands out, chakra flowing through them. The move works, but Naruto is thrown back into a wall. As he slides down to the ground, he begins to lose consciousness, as the Ero Sennin started to walk to him. That was pretty good. Now we are gonna do this exercise until you don't move a single inch, now get up. He said, throwing some water at Naruto. End flashback. Quote. Then I had to sleep with toads for 3 weeks, and learn an advanced version of the Rasengan, and then I had to. Tenten placed a hand on his mouth, stopping Naruto from telling any more about his training. Haku and Tayuya looked at him, and wondered what kept him alive. How did you survive? One mean you couldn't have levied through that and still be the same Naruto we all know and love? Asked Haku. Tayuya only looked at Naruto, and pondered some things. You must have some real guts to go through all that. Orochimaru did something similar but I never complained about it. And to think you did all that just for Tenten, she said, staring at the bushy master now. Tenten then began to smack his forehead. Ow. What was that for? You don't just wallop someone for no reason. Complained Naruto, rubbing his head. You really think I can't take care of myself? I'm one of the strongest Kunoichi in this village, after Tsunade and the female Jonin. I can hold a fight against Haku and Taiyu pretty easily, so you didn't have to get tortured for me. She yelled at him, as she opened the door and entered in. The 3 entered in as well, Haku closing it behind him for he was last to enter, and Taiyu went to the bathroom. Tenten just watched as she left there, the Naruto grabbed her arm, pulling the body attached to it inside their room, locking the door behind her. Haku saw this, and figured what was up, rushing to the bathroom door to get Tayuya out. Taiyu-chan, we gotta leave now. He yelled through the bathroom door. Why the hell so? We just got here. Asked the loud voice of the former sound ninja. Naruto and Tenten are about to do it, this time for real. And what could be heard afterwards was a bunch of noise that seems to be hurrying something, a flushing toilet, and the door unlocking. Out came Tayuya, who grabbed Haku, ran out the door, and locked it to escape the sounds they might suffer through listening. Back with said ninjas, Naruto was thrown on top of the bed. As he got up, she stared at him. What the hell was that for? He asked, trying to get his neck realigned. You know damn well what that was. How could you risk us having with them around? They never do it when I'm here. Look, I know how much you enjoy being with them, but I just did it so they could leave. Because I had to do this alone. He said, as he pushes her to the door, grabs a black box he left on the dresser next to the door, and gently grips her hand, getting down on one knee. Tenten, every time I see you, you make my world feel better. The first time we met you brought me out of darkness, and gave me a chance to live my life with you. Another time we announced our love for one another. And the last time before I left with Jiraiya, I promised to become your husband. Now I return, determined to fulfill that promise to you. After his speech, he opens the black box, to reveal a diamond ring. It was a golden ring with silver lining on it, with a diamond on the top that was shaped like a spiral. It also had 4 dagger-like jewels in the spiral. One was blue, the second was white. The third was red and the fourth was black. Tenten stared at the jewel, and could feel her heart melt. Oh please, please be what I think it is. Amon Tenten, would you please become Uzumaki Amon Tenten ? He finally asked, hoping she would say yes. Although there was a big possibility she would, something might hold her back. That thought went out of his when a pair of hands came down to his face, gripped his cheeks, and pulled his face towards hers in a passionate kiss. It lasted for 3 minutes before Naruto was finally released. So, is that a yes ? He asked stupidly. She shook her head up and down, resembling the response he had been hoping for. She then goes down to his level, and hugs him tight. Yes, yes, I love you, and would nothing less than to be your wife, she exclaimed, embracing him. Naruto stared into the teary eyes of his esteemed soon-to-be wife. He then rose up and nuzzled her nose with his own. She opened her eyes, to reveal an even more desirable love and lust for the person she is staring at. Ah, isn't that the same look you got when you wanted to? Oh. Okay. He realized what she wanted. She nods and attacks his mouth. They crash on the bed, tangling tongues and shit, ripping each other's clothes off. As the last piece of fabric was removed, they noticed that the other grew a bit. Tenten, did you always used to be AD size ? You seem bigger, he wondered, not really caring if she answered, as he went straight for it. She placed a hand on his face. You seem to have grown up yourself. But let's skip the foreplay for now. He agrees, and lays her on her back, and plunges in. She grabs onto his shoulders, to make it feel even better, and moans to the skies. An hour later, Naruto and Tenten were laying in their bed, sheet covering their bareness while hands were intertwining with one another. Both of them were staring out the window, thinking of what is next to come. You think we were loud ? Asked Naruto. Tenten looked back at him, smiling that perfect cheer of hers. Undoubtful. After all, you were a mashing. They were likely to hear me than you, she laughs, planting a deep kiss on him. Naruto pulled away for a minute. Next time, let's do it at night. That way people will be asleep. He returns to kissing her mouth. At the Hokage's office, Tsunade was wide awake, after hearing something very loud. Damn, she was loud. Was that Tenten ? In Sunagakure, the Gaara rescue team had finally reached the village. Lucky for them they found Gaara nearby, or he might have died from his extraction of the demon. They met up with 2 members of Akatsuki, a man with red hair who kinda resembles Gaara, and some girly-looking dude with blonde hair. Right now Kakashi, Sakura, and Neji were currently engaged in battle with said blonde Akatsuki member, while Guy, Kiba and Akamaru were both fighting the redhead. Guy had just released his 4th gate, and is unleashing a tidal wave of punches on the missing ninja from the sand. The final attack, which he dubs Morning P, finished him off, smashing him into the ground and crushing his body. Back with Kakashi he could use similar luck. The blonde missing ninja from Rock was a lot stronger than most would assume. Even his Reikiri with the Sharingan, it was still a challenge to actually hit the paper artist. He was about to make a straightforward punch with Reikiri, which was obvious to fail, when the Akatsuki member was distracted for a minute, by a faint noise west of the village. This slight distraction cost him his right arm again. As blood was slipping onto the ground, and the others gathered around, that's when he decided to make an escape plan, and use his arm as an explosion to flee, without the Biju inside of Shukaku. Damn. Leader-san will not like this. What was that noise from before that distracted me ? It sounded like it was from Konoha. Or well, time for the great Deidara to make an excuse, he thinks, as he flies away in his paper bird thing. The Konoha shinobi watched as he fled, then turns their attention to the dead member in the ground. So Guy, what should we do with Sasori's corpses ? Well, we could send his head to here, and get an added bonus to our most you, he started, but was interrupted by Sakura. Guy-sensei, could you do us a favor, and not say that again? ? She pleaded, having a headache already about hearing it from them during the trip. Guy turns his head away, a bit angry about being put down by a little girl. Gaara finally came to. Staring up at the people he recognized, some being his siblings, he felt a bit glad. But he did feel a bit like he did before his seal got fixed, though he could hold it back now. His eyes were looking for a certain blonde-haired boob, but to no avail. Where's Uzumaki-san ? That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.